Hello, my name is Kristen Adkins, and I'm here with Impressing Minds, where I go over foster care, adoption, and reactive attachment disorder, or RAD. Today, I'm going to talk about reactive attachment disorder as it relates to classroom management and the child when they go to school. So, in my last video, I put a card up here for you. You can't hardly see. I'm traveling, so I'll put a card up here for you on the last video in case you want to see that. So I talked about in my last post just a general overview of the RAD child, the reactive attachment disorder child, in the classroom and how they may have a honeymoon period, and then after that honeymoon period, what they may behave like and what you can expect. And I talked about how there was a range of behaviors, and so you really don't know exactly what to expect, of course, but how it can mimic ADHD, how they can lie and steal and manipulate, and they're very argumentative and things like that. So today I just wanted to talk about how to manage the classroom in that, and I just touched on it last time and gave my best advice. My best advice is to follow specifically your policy and procedure for your school. So if that means, they did something wrong, you should administer the discipline as if by the policy and procedures that you have in place at your school. Giving them leniency will not help anything, and trying to make a connection with the child in order to help them get better is not going to help. They need consistency and rigidity to overcome their issues. So I'm just going to talk briefly about what you can do in the classroom and my suggestions. And if you have other suggestions, don't feel bad. Put them in the comments section and like and subscribe to the video. Also share the video with people that, have students, or if they're a teacher and they may have students with reactive attachment disorder, share the video with them and get their perspective. Have them comment. Perfectly fine. Okay, classroom management of the RAD student. I would suggest that you create a very business-like relationship with this child. I know that's kind of not what we're taught in teacher school. I am actually a master's. I have a master's plus 15. That's not exactly what we're taught, especially when you're working with the younger students. You're not supposed to have like this business-like relationship. But with a reactive attachment disorder student, you are supposed to be very business-like and professional only. You should have classroom management down pat. Focus on your lessons. Try not to focus on the connection with the child. Like I said, focus on just learning, being consistent and fair. If you are not fair, this child is going to raise a ruckus about it. Focus on your planning. Don't try and focus on healing this child. It's going to take years of therapy. The next thing I would suggest is be an advocate for the parent. You have the child for an hour or 6 hours, depending on if you're a secondary teacher or an elementary teacher, and this parent has the child for hours and hours a day, all weekend and all summer. And so I would suggest that you become an advocate for the parent. If the child tells you something that you may not think is right or think is a little off, I would get in touch with the parent and I would tell the child, I'm gonna verify that with your mom, or I'm gonna verify that with your grandma, or whoever the child lives with, and say, okay, that's fine. I'm going to verify what you're telling me, because they are very, very prone to lying. And often they try to triangulate with adults. So they may tell you something, and then at home, they're telling mom something different about you. They're telling you something very different So they want you and mom to get in the big fight. And so they're just master manipulators, and they thrive on this triangulation. So always just be an advocate and be on the parents' side. And just say something like, okay, during my planning, I am going to follow up with your mom. I'm going to give your mom a phone call and see if the thing changes at that point when they know you're going to verify it with them. The triangulation is huge with them. Try to be on the parents' side. So don't try at that point, don't try to build a relationship with the child. Leave that for the parent. They're having, I know this because I'm a teacher and I've had reactive attachment disorder kids retrospectively in my classroom. And I've also then later on had my own that I adopted. So I know that it's hard for the parent to connect with the child. So do not try or attempt to build a relationship or try to attach in some meaningful way to the child. Treat them just like you do all the other kids in the class. You know, I'm not saying treat them differently or mean. Don't do that. But be very professional. If you give out candy, you know, that's one thing. If you're allowed to give candy, you know, give everybody one, but don't sneak them one, you know, because you feel sorry for them or you pity them. Don't do that. Don't pity the child. These children need to heal and connect with their parents. They are having trouble. They have an attachment issue. So they're trying to push their parents away. And so they don't need you trying to attach to them. They need to attach to their parents. So try not to interfere with that at all. I know it's hard as teachers. We want all of our students to love us, and we love all of our students, but leave that for the parents, that attachment and that meaningful conversation and all that kind of stuff. Leave that for the parent. They're going to need lots of therapy. Thirdly, some simple things that you can do and say while teaching or conducting activities, just some classroom management extras. I know that if you're a teacher, you've been through school and stuff, you know how to manage your class, but here's some things to do, especially if you have a reactive attachment disorder child in your class. Give lots of physical activity to get the hyperactive tendencies out. Never punish. I would suggest never punish with recess being taken. Lots of these children are misdiagnosed with ADHD. So if they have all this hyperactive energy, which lots of them do, don't punish them by taking recess where they can get their energy out. Let them play, let them run, jump, hop, skip, whatever, in order to burn up some energy. The classroom will be a better place for it. Utilize natural consequences whenever you can. If they want to go outside without their coat, you know, as long as it's not against the policy of the school, let them go. Do not get into a power struggle, not even once. If they try to argue with you, you can say something like, "Oh, that's interesting that you feel like that. Let me ask the other student, what do you think?" You can say something like, "You're on the right track." If you know they're just way off or something, don't be, you know, smart aleck or something like that, but just say you're on the right track and let them keep thinking about it, because sometimes they'll give you wrong answers on purpose. Don't validate or tell them you're wrong. If they need to come up with the answer, let them come up with the answer. Don't lose your control emotionally. If you have one of these kids in your classroom and they are fighting against you every day, you're going to be headed for burnout if you let it get to you. If you're one of those teachers who carry your heart on your sleeve and you worry about the kids, just take care of yourself some. Don't let it get to you emotionally. They're not doing this to you personally. This is their personality. This is what they do. This is how they act at home. So they're not doing it especially to you. This is just who they are. Sometimes you need to allow choices on project or be a little flexible, but don't become enabling. They love to manipulate, so they'll say, I can't do this, so you assist them. And then when you know that they can do something, you help them or guide them, but don't do it for them. You can say a choice, like you can do a PowerPoint or a poster, but don't let them off the hook. You need to follow the rules and consequences to the T, like I said. Also, get administration on board with everything that you're doing and explain, why it is, and say, I've talked to the mother and this child has this, and maybe send them this video, or the video before this would probably be the better one. Go ahead and ask to meet the parents ahead of time and get on the same page. Find out what the goals are for their child. They, academically they may have goals, but just behaviorally they may have goals. Their goal may be for them to not be suspended this year. Their goal may be for them not to be in behavior disorder classroom. So just see what's been like before, and how you all can be a team. Try to be as fair as possible. Like I said earlier, if you're not, they are going to call you out for that. And utilize the school and your classroom routines. They need routines. They need to know what's next, of course. So if you do have a crisis, really, you need to just know the policy and procedure, kind of walk yourself through, what am I going to do if this escalates, if they get in an argument, because they can get in an argument and it can escalate to a fight in no time. So you need to know the policy and procedure. You need to know how to contact the office or security or whoever you have to come and report to your classroom. These kids often, interestingly enough, are kind of in survival mode. They often never get out of toddlerhood almost. So they are just surviving for control. They're just fighting for control. So keep that in mind. Try not to get any arguments or let the kids get too far in arguments. Work as a team, of course you will. I know you will. As a teacher, I know you're going to, work as a team. And then I on my blog, I give a little bit of personal story of my own RAD in my own classroom. How interesting is that? Also, you may wonder if RAD children are developmentally delayed. Most of them do have lower IQs because they were often undernourished or malnourished emotionally and socially, as well as physically, during the primitive years of their lives. So from perhaps prenatally to 2 or 3 years old, they didn't get the proper attention and the proper care and nutrition. A lot of them do have lower IQs as well. So I hope this explains a lot of information about reactive attachment disorder. I would never argue with the child, would never argue. Don't try behavior modification things like charts and stickers. I would not give warnings beyond 1, or whatever you do with the other kids, which I would not do warnings. I don't really, you have 1 chance. The rules are posted, so you should know what they are. I would not create a punishment system just for this child. I would never degrade the child or respond with emotion. You need to respond with a flat face or deflated face, if you've ever heard of that. Never with confrontation. And please don't become jaded that this is a bad kid. They've just been through so many bad experiences. before they were 3 years old. So, don't become jaded and think this is a bad child. It's exasperating, but you can get through it. And comment below if you have had a RAD child, or if you think you have. Maybe they weren't, diagnosed or anything, but maybe now you're thinking maybe so-and-so was having reactive attachment disorder or something similar. Like I said, there's ranges for everything. So comment, like, subscribe again to help this channel, help me get the word out. And thank you for watching to the very end. Stay tuned.